Well, hello, and welcome. I'm so excited to have you here. We are live with Breaking Free from the Busy Trap. My name's Amanda Kaufman, and you are joining me live wherever you are seeing this broadcasted for our weekly training and Q&A. So if you are wanting to have a live question answered, just head over to Instagram at the Amanda Kaufman. That's one F, one N, the Amanda Kaufman. And I'm super excited to have you here. Hello. I'm so glad that people can make it. And we're going to be talking about something that is a silent killer of coaching and expert businesses, and that is busyness. I'm not talking just business. I'm talking about your busyness. So if you can see me and hear me, do let me know. I'm just going to check my levels. Yes, I have turned on my microphone. Goodness, I think I had like 3. This is a little embarrassing, but I had like 3 of these in a row where I didn't have the audio turned on properly. My bad. So I hope you can hear me. I hope you can see me, and welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. So today we're talking about breaking free from the busy trap. Why productivity isn't everything. You know, it's really important, but it's not everything. So I am so excited. Oh, I just realized I did have a mistake that I need to fix over on the Facebook. Goodness. I'm going to hit go live now. Perfect. All right. Awesome. So we're in all the places that we're supposed to be in that we promised. Hello. I'm glad you're here. Okay. So welcome. We're going to be diving into the busy trap. You know that feeling where at the end of the day, you've been running really hard and you look back and you can barely even remember what you did? I want to talk about it because a lot of experts and coaches and online entrepreneurs are secretly really struggling with this. And, you know, productivity, here's like the first takeaway. Productivity is not getting everything done. I'm going to say that again. Productivity is not getting everything done. That's busyness. And, you know, it doesn't actually equal fulfillment. You know, I've been on that busy hamster wheel of doom trying to get everything done perfectly to the nth degree. And I'm here to tell you as testimony, it does not work. It does not work. You're not going to be more fulfilled because you got 12 things done today instead of 10, you know, or you got 7 things done today instead of 5. So, hey, Jane, glad to see you. So we've got friends over on the Facebook are joining us, and it all seems to actually be working. I am absolutely delighted. All right. So let's pop into our first section here. And I really want you to just share with me, have you ever had that feeling where you maybe even got to the point where you were flirting with burnout and you were just totally overextended with all the things that you needed to do? Maybe you were enrolled in a program and it was adding a heap to your plate, or maybe you had a change of life, you know, like for example, I decided in my infinite wisdom to launch this business while I was pregnant and about to have my youngest son. So, you know, sometimes it's not even the business that is necessarily the core challenge or the core issue. Sometimes it's the rest of life that is making everything really hard to keep up with. And if there's one thing that I hear an awful lot in my practice, it's I would have done it except. You know, I would have done it except. So, you know, just shout a Y in the chat if you've ever had like things on your to-do that just keep getting kicked down the road week after week because there was an exception. But I, like my lovingly, I just want to tell you that if it happens every single week, then it's no longer an exception, honey. Like if it happens 80% of your weeks, that's not an exception. What that is your real life showing up. And that's your opportunity to shift gears from always being busy, too busy, can't possibly do everything, to taking control of your calendar, your ownership over your calendar, and the ownership of the realities of your life, right? Elena can relate. If you can relate to this, do let me know in the chat. I'm super, super excited to talk about this with you. So I think the first piece of this is, why do we get trapped in that lie? Why do we keep telling ourselves it's an exceptional week when it's not an exceptional week? It's been the same thing for 80% plus of your weeks. And we just kind of keep resetting the story. We keep resetting the narrative. Every Monday comes around and we're like, hey, it's like a new day. It's a new issue. And what's the definition of insanity, right? It's doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a new and different result. So why do we get into this trap? I think the first reason is social, actually. It is the thing to do to reply when somebody asks, how was your weekend? Oh, it was so busy. Right? How are things in your business? Oh, it's so busy, right? Like, that's the standard non-answer that we give when we're interacting with other people, especially with people that we fear won't understand what we're so busy with, or, that we don't know that they're going to be totally supportive of all the things that we spent our time on. Like, there's a huge social pressure to be seen as busy. And I actually wrote a blog about this years ago when I was still working in corporate America, and I called it the busy badge of honor. It's this social status signal that you can say, like, hey, I'm needed. Hey, my time is valuable. And like, I think that is kind of crossing over too into internal pressures. So internally, when we're working on our self-love and we're working on our own personal growth and development, one of the chapters that most people have to walk through is this recognition that the actions that you are taking do not validate or invalidate your existence as a human being. I'm going to say that again. A lot of people get into coaching. They get into coaching because they're not feeling validated by their current workplace or their family situation or whatever it is. They feel small. And what they realize is when they coach somebody else into their awesomeness, their next level of being, it activates this feeling that we get as coaches and experts of the payoff of like, oh, I did something good for somebody else. But the other piece of that is like the validation that you feel about your relevance in somebody else's story or your relevance in somebody else's life. So if you haven't heard it recently, you are so relevant. You are so valid. You are a very worthy person and human. And you know what? If you never work a day in your life as a coach, you are still a worthy human. I think a lot of coaches need to hear that, because the hustle and the busyness is really kind of a projection of like you needing to be seen as valid and valuable. And I'm just telling you, like, even if you were sitting on your butt munching on Doritos, you are still a valuable human. Now, are you going to be making progress towards your goals while sitting on the couch eating Doritos? No, probably. Well, unless your goal is to finish all the Doritos in the cupboard. But I think we sometimes get a little confused with like goal attainment or achievement and our value as a human being. And I know I fell into that. As the oldest daughter, any other older daughters on the live today, let me know. As the oldest daughter, I had major perfectionism trap, and I think it happens at all stages, whether you're the oldest or the youngest. But the other place that this shows up is like in school. So in school, all the students are working together on a program to complete a piece of work in a period of time. And it's very structured, very standardized. And it doesn't just because you're doing the thing doesn't mean that it's going to be necessarily productive to your future goals. I have a whole degree in chemical engineering, and I don't use chemistry on a daily basis, really. No more than the average homeowner might. And so what I'm saying is that we get a lot of reward in society and in our lives for being seen to be busy. Don't even get me started on the 40-hour-a-week construct, right? It is a construct. And again, like, you can be really, really productive in a much shorter period of time. Oldest and youngest at the same time. Oh, that's wild. That's really cool. So I think the trap, and I wasn't going to go there, but I think I am. The trap of somebody who's also family oriented, so typically female, but this could be men too, is there's always like more to do. So the mental load of that pressure can become a bit of an object of our psychology too. So for example, like the dishes, right? The dishes are always there. The dishes are always needing to be done. The laundry is always there. It's always needing to be done, right? And because of the frequency of how often we see these projects around us, these tasks around us, it elevates the importance in our mind. This is like literal psychology. I'm reading the book Thinking Fast and Slow. And like when you have high frequency of something, it increases the relative importance in our mind. So if you're always at home and you always see the same dust bunnies and you always react to the dust bunny with the dust buster or the broom or whatever it is you're doing, you're really reinforcing that pattern, but it isn't necessarily getting you towards your goals. So if you're really serious about entrepreneurship, for example, then you need to get serious about delegating the housework, and you need to get serious. And like in some cases, that might actually mean hiring someone. That might mean sacrificing a few dollars here to get a heap of time and the most importantly, focus back over there, right? So, and I know for me, like as a mom, I felt really guilty about, for example, doing a store-bought birthday cake. I had this idea that like there was more virtue in doing a homemade birthday cake. And I'm also very scientifically minded. I have measured the delight of a child when I spent, 4 hours handcraft, y'all, I did like the classes and everything, 4 hours crafting the most beautiful cake ever versus the store-bought cake. The delight-o-meter pinged to the same level for the 5 and 6-year-old that I was doing this for, And the thing is that my exhaustion trade-off of the 4-hour cake, like it's one thing if you're doing it because it delights you and it's fulfilling and it's fun and it's a hobby, that's one thing. But when it flips into this busyness trap of like you start getting crabby, you start getting cranky because you're doing this thing that everybody around you is supposed to be like supportive of and delighted by, I am just telling you, test doing things that are easier because they are not lesser goals necessarily, but because you want to be more efficient with your time overall. So just test it. When I first tested the store-bought cake and I realized like they actually liked it better in some ways because the colors were bolder, I was like, all right, I'm done. I'm done with the cake thing. And again, if it's your profession of love and that's how you want to do it, great. But I'm just telling you my personal experience, I could enjoy the birthday party heck lots more because I ended up, saving 4 hours and I could spend it like in connection with my kids, just for an example. So how do we do this in business? I think the first way that we do this in business is obsessing over how not perfect our work is. So for example, I used to, when I started, I used to obsess over doing videos. Now I've done thousands of videos. I've even been featured in a movie. I've done tons and tons of screen time. But you know what heaps helped me more with being able to be in a movie and to be interviewed and to operate at higher levels, get invited into studios, the whole bit? Doing it, right? Like I got training. I'm not against training. I love education. I run an education company, for goodness sake. And you got to do your homework. You got to apply what you're learning. And part of busyness and not being able to really quantify what it is that you did is because you keep cycling and ruminating on the same idea over and over and over again. And when I catch myself in that, I realize, oh my gosh, I'm trying to get credit for kind of doing the work, but I'm not really doing the work. There's a little essay. Oh gosh, I got to look it up. I got to find it. And if you know it, let me know in the chat. But it's basically talking about all the things we do to avoid confronting the work. And I know we're talking about getting out of a busy behavior, but check this out. Thinking about doing the work is not doing the work, but it'll give you the psychological payoff of feeling busy, right? So thinking about the work is not doing the work. Drafting the work right? Or planning to do the work is not doing the work. So when you're writing down in your journal, for example, to get the clarity, all for that, I love it. But that's also not doing the work, right? Comparing yourself to other people and other companies that are at different stages, serving different markets, doing different things than you, that's also not doing the work, right? But how much time do we drain on that? How much time do we drain on just like comparing ourselves like crazy? They're all not doing the work, regretting the work you didn't do. Also, not doing the work. So one of the ways that I feel way more productive is to actually actively constrain the number of hours that I'm willing to personally work. And as a recovering workaholic, that has been very, very challenging. But like, for example, I could literally spend 12 hours a day just producing content for my business. Like producing these videos, refining the live stream, refining the worksheet that I've got for you at the end of this. Refine. I could do that. But wouldn't it be a better use of my time to build a system or a process that I can show up reliably for you at this time and relax? The half hour before today's live, I went and I got coffee. I fixed up my hair and makeup. I just kind of puttered, I wasn't in this like grind mode that activates that busyness. Busyness, I think, is actually a euphemism for anxiety and anxiousness. And when you can build in intentional slowness, recovery, and rejuvenation, then you're really starting to do it right. Because when you do things, you can have a defined, clear outcome. So I'll give you an example. This live stream, I actually planned it like 3-4 weeks ago. And I built, at the time of planning, I built the outline for what I was going to talk about nearly a month ago. So I'm not actually talking about it until today, which is why I've got the notes, right? I can refer to my notes and I could be like, right, we're going to talk about this, this, and this. But I haven't really thought about this live apart from the execution of it very much. It was very systemized. It's very checklist oriented. It's very like almost mindless, right? Because I put my thinking into doing actually 6 of these live streams at a time. So that's called batch work. Okay. And we get stuck in this idea that we have to be always producing social media because that we're always consuming it. I'm going to say that part again for the people in the back. We confuse our consumption habit of social media with what our production habit has to be. And the truth is you can produce in batches separately on a different timeline altogether, and then show up on the day, show up to the actual show, right? I'm updating my community. I'm going to be renaming it. Right now it's the Courageous Coach Club, but there's a new name coming soon. And I've been working really hard on it. We started with the community survey and I've been refining it. So I'm not saying don't do the work, but I'm making sure that the work is actually work. I'm producing deliverables, so we've got, for example, our new feature list. I designed the next year of content in advance, right? Like I've produced a schedule. I've produced the content. I've produced the bullets, like what we're going to be covering. I produced it in advance so then I can spend my working hours actually building and collaborating with my team to build the task. How many of you have been thinking about doing a course or thinking about launching your membership or thinking about launching your coaching program, and you just keep pushing the pen around on the paper, but you're not making new decisions? You're not scheduling things on the calendar. You see my calendar is over my shoulder. It's so important to move into that. So I want to give you some practical tips today to help you activate more productivity that is real instead of just busy, right? And so number 1 is the daily big 3. So the daily big 3 is a focus tool that allows you to just commit to and focus on 3 tasks for the day. But Amanda, how do I pick the tasks? Great question. Love to tell you. On New Year's Eve this year, I'm going to be hosting my Planning Extravaganza 2025. So in that, we're going to be working on your big goals, your annual goals. We'll break it down into quarters, months, and all that kind of thing. You can go ahead and take the 3 biggest things that you want to accomplish in your life right now, and you can use that to inform your big 3. And I look at my daily big 3 as another area of optimization, another area of performance improvement, that if I can get even more satisfied and even better with what I'm doing with my big 3 every day, then I'm improving overall. Like that's the measure that I'm actually using. So what are the 3 tasks that you personally can do that align to your professional and personal goals? And if you want to share your tasks for accountability with the community, go ahead and share that below in the comments. But for example, I reduced my to-do list considerably when I decided that I was going to lead with a key offer. Right? So what's a key offer? A key offer is like, what's the first thing you want people to find out that you do? And what's the first thing that you want them to buy from you? The first thing, right? The first thing. So you can do what I did when I launched my business. I started with super premium coaching, and I did not launch my membership. I did not launch my course. I just focused for the first couple of years on private premium coaching. That was it. I didn't allow and it's not that I didn't see it. A lot of people told me it's like, oh, you want the recurring revenue of membership. Great. Awesome. Not working on that right now. This is called focus. Focus is follow one course until successful. So I focused on it, and there was some specific reasons why that made sense to me about why I was focusing on that particular strategy. Now, the people that were telling me like, oh, you've got to have a membership, you've got to have like low ticket and all of that, they had already learned advertising. They had already learned how to do audience building. They had massive audiences. They had teams. And I didn't. I was a mom with like 4 kids. And I was like, okay, when I first started this business, I only had 8 names on a Post-it of people that I actually felt like I could talk to. I still remember my very first sales coach. She didn't yell at me, but she was scary. She was like she's a literal ninja. And she saw me stand there. We went to a retreat together. I stood there with a fistful of business cards from people that I had met at a seminar that I had just attended the week before. And she was like, I want you to go over in that room right there and call every single one of those business card numbers. And I was like, so terrified, because low-key, she could totally kick my butt if she wanted to. She never would. She's like the nicest person, but I think it was just like enough firmness and fear that I actually followed through on it. So yeah, to say that I was like shy and introverted building my business, like I needed a literal ninja to kick my butt into like calling and following up with people. So I wasn't exactly somebody who had, thousands and thousands of followers on Instagram. I had zero comfort with being on a camera at the time. And so for me, like the goal was I need to replace my corporate income so I get to do this full time. And then what I did as my third was like, but I want to have an audience, I want to have that bigger influence. I want recurring revenue. Those are things I do want. So what I did for my major goal was I used my spare time, the non-core time, and I'm going to talk to you about non-core time in a second, to learn how to do copywriting, to learn how to have camera presence, to learn how to use Facebook and Instagram even more effectively. I eventually went on to learn how to use Facebook groups to grow my business. And I don't know if you can see it on the wall behind me, but I have my $1 million group reward, right? And part of that was just because I decided that I wanted to get good at that thing, but I did it simultaneously with being a private and group coach, right? So I think a lot of people hear things like you're one funnel away, or, focus on the one thing, or, one funnel, one offer, one da 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 da. And they take that piece of advice so literally that they actually feel guilty about doing anything other than that one thing. But I'm here to tell you that it's not reflective of real life to expect your whole life is just going to be around this one thing. I think that's why my clients are often saying like, Amanda, I would have gotten this done for my business, except this weird, crazy thing happened with my family this week. And I'm thinking to myself, and I'll say even directly to my clients, is this the first time that's ever happened? How many times this month did that happen? And it turns out that they actually have a busyness trait. They're not necessarily tapped into high productivity. I don't think you can have it all at once, but I do think you can create anything you want if you're willing to keep it to those 3 big goals. Okay. So 3 big tasks for the day, and just get better and better at identifying what those big 3 are and set them up in the context of your life, right? Okay. Next practical tip is actually around something that I was so resistant to. And then when I finally adopted it, I was just a happy human. And that is time blocking. Time blocking. So the reason why we do the big 3 is because you are going to have surprises today. Yep. You're going to have surprises today. You're going to have things that you didn't expect you were going to want to do. You're going to have things that you didn't expect you were going to deal with. Like, it's called living an activated life, right? Can I get a life in the chat? Because like, it's so important to allow for like the chaos, because that's your life, However, you can carve out a couple of hours today. You can, and that's what time blocking is. Time blocking isn't necessarily stacking all 168 hours out of the week and accounting for every single one and having zero room for chaos. Again, not a realistic practice, but it is very realistic for you to measure and monitor what are your peak productivity hours. And what I decided to do, again, busy mom, is I get up early, man. I get up, 4:30 in the morning, at the very latest 5, but 4:30 most mornings, because it gives me a consistent time block where I'm not a mom, I'm not a wife, I'm not doing anything else. I'm just doing what I want to do. And a lot of the times that's work, right? It really is. It's writing the content, or it's designing something, or reviewing something the team produced. But sometimes it's not. Like if I need more like personal reflective time, I am guaranteed it every day because I block it. It's called time blocking because it's a consecutive actual block of time. And now I've grown my business, and I have some support from my team, and my team is helping me with actually managing my calendar on my behalf. So when I'm time blocking, if I agree to meet with somebody, I put the travel time in the same time block. If I am, right? Yeah. Desiree, you get it. Jane, you get it. Absolutely. So this time blocking, it is possible to do. And I would encourage you to look for 2 to 3 hours every single day that is like really protected. And if you want to go hardcore, start early. Read the 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma, or listen to it on audiobook. That's a good one. And if you're a night owl, then protect it. Like, don't be a consumer of social media during those evening hours. Don't watch the Netflix, right? Okay. So practical tip number 3 is the Pareto principle. So there was this Italian mathematician that years ago figured out that 80% of the peas were in 20% of the pea pods in a field that he studied, which is really funny. He also looked at all the landlords in Italy, and he found that, 20% of the landlords owned 80% of the land. So that 80-20 rule, it turns out, appears statistically like everywhere. And I promise you, if you looked at the activities that you undertook in your business for the last 2 weeks and you measured what the outcome was or the benefit of doing the task was, you could really quickly identify the top 20% of your hours that produced 80% of your awesomeness. Right? So what would happen if you spent more time on that, those 20% tasks and less time on the 80% tasks that didn't lead you anywhere? Right? Obviously, this little half hour is part of your vital 20%. But I think the bonus tip I'm going to offer you, and if you want the worksheet, you can go to resources.thecoachesplaza.com/busy-trap, or you can just shout out busy in my DMs, and I will send you my busyness audit. And it's a little worksheet that you can do. Oh, I got a little frozen there. It's a little worksheet that you can do to review like your quality of the hours that you're spending each week. And I personally find it really helpful to track all of my meetings and the major tasks that I do in a Google Calendar. That's all I do. That's how fancy I am. You could even do it with like a written planner if you want to. But notice where you felt you audited your time and you're like, that was kind of busy, and then ask yourself, like, why? Why am I doing this busy work, or why am I doing this busy task? And sometimes it reveals things like, I need more rejuvenation time. I need more time to recalibrate. So something I implemented in the last, 6 months to a year, because I did this kind of an audit, was, I see you, Celine. I'll go ahead and I'll send this to you, bestie. So the thing I implemented was a midday meditation, because I was finding that I was burning out and getting like kind of dumber in my decisions towards the latter half of the afternoon. And I wanted to activate. I wanted to be able to have like a really thriving full workday. So I think movement is a really important thing to time block and make sure you've got time for that. But also, look for those opportunities for rejuvenation, like just silence. I actually got a really cute meditation pillow for my office so that I can make it even more convenient to make sure that I'm taking the time to do those meditations, because it honestly does make me a little bit brighter. So that's what I have for you this week. If you have any questions, I should have mentioned, can I repeat? Sorry, Elena, I just caught that comment. Yeah, you'll have to maybe ask me in the experts network what you wanted me to repeat, because I missed the comment. I apologize for that. By the way, I've got the show notes, you guys. So if you want the show notes and you want the worksheet, just DM me the word busy and I'll make sure to get you the notes for this week and that worksheet that I put together to help you with your busyness audit. Okay. All right. Go out there and serve, be an impactful coach, do it with time freedom, do it with financial freedom, but go do it. Okay. Like, just really do what matters. We'll see you guys soon. Bye.